Rage. In this case, for people who saw everything they ever held dear lost to communism, just mentioning that system causes them to see red. Mention communism to many people in Westminster, and this is what they remember: having to escape their own country with nothing. It was April of 1975, and the long fight to keep South Vietnam free of communism had been lost. In the end, U.S. helicopters were the only route out for those lucky enough to get a ride. Fast forward 23 years, and the passions still run deep. But the freedoms that this country stands for can be confounding. Vietnamese Americans are patriotic, often expressing their love for this country. Yet a communist flag and the picture of late communist leader Ho Chi Minh is quickly seen as the ultimate insult, much as a Ku Klux Klan rally enrages African Americans, or a swastika on a flag screams hate to Jews. But in this country, today's decision by the judge was the only option, according to constitutional law professor Carl Mannheim.
If we allowed the police or the landlords to close down speech on the grounds of people's reaction to it, then you're giving the heckler a veto over speech. And then none of us would have any First Amendment rights to speak unless the audience we were speaking to agreed with us.
So the law may be clear, but the message is not always understood. And what's different about this case is the picture and the flag hang in a business. Often these kinds of passions are generated from a march or a rally, which happens on a given day and then it passes. In this case, the outrage is likely to continue, as Mia just mentioned, as long as those symbols remain in that store. Pat.
Carrie, a memorial service tonight for a young woman stabbed to death.
News with Jerry Dunphy and Pat Harvey.
Animosities carried over from the Vietnam War continue to flare up in Westminster. Protesters are still gathered outside a store where communist symbols were once displayed. Our Mia Lee is there now with the latest. What's going on there, Mia?
Jerry, you know, it's really tough to describe to you just what the day has been like outside this little Saigon video store. Imagine those chants you hear in the background at an even higher decibel level carrying on non-stop. Well, that's what's been going on throughout the day, much the same as it did yesterday, but tonight things are a little different. Take a look for yourselves. The protesters are being held back away from the store by this barricade that you see. They're still waving the flags, but you can see police are standing guard, making sure that they don't come near the store. Now, back here in front of the store, if I can get Dennis to pan back here around, there's also a barricade up in front of the store to make sure those protesters don't hang any more signs on the doors. Now, earlier today, police arrested some protesters who refused to back away from the businesses. The arrest came after public notices written in both Vietnamese and English were distributed to the crowd. Now, the notices told the protesters that the restraining order issued yesterday by a judge would be enforced. And though most of the protesters did comply, even after being moved back, they did not stop the chants, the screams, and other very emotional displays. Now, yesterday, you may recall similar near-riot scenes. This is when Truong Van Tran, the video store owner, came back to rehang the picture. Well, this is Truong today. He was released from the hospital with his wife and 2 kids. Tran says that he defended his actions, saying that he is not a communist and loves his American freedoms.
I have a right to do it. They have a right to refuse it, but not hit each other, not enemy. Yeah, that's what we learned about the freedom in this country. We understand about the First Amendment.
How would the American people feel if this man, Tran Trường, would take the communist flag and the portrait of Ho Chi Minh and take it to Arlington National Cemetery and hang it on the 58,000 American names, the American soldier that had died in Vietnam?
As you heard and as you can see, the protesters very passionate about their cause. Some stayed overnight. You can bet some will stay overnight here again. As for Tran, he did not make an appearance here today. In fact, we are told he will wait till this weekend to rehang his communist displays. We're live in Westminster. I'm Mia Lee, Prime 9 News.
Actions by a communist sympathizer.
The protest has been going on all day in front of a video store in Little Saigon, a community filled with many Vietnamese immigrants. Our Leanne Suter joins us once again live with more on what's going on now. Leanne?
Well, right now things have calmed down considerably, although earlier today this parking lot was packed with protesters. But as you take a look now, you can see that most of the crowd has left, although a small group remains in front of Truong Van Tran's video store. Now take a look at some video we shot earlier. The shot here high above the crowd gives you a good idea of just how large the protest was. More than 500 people turned out. Now, they all showed up because Tran said he was going to reopen his video store today and once again hang a picture of Ho Chi Minh and a communist flag. Now, that set off the protest. Hundreds of people turned out, along with police in riot gear. Now, they ordered the crowd to disperse and threatened to arrest almost every demonstrator. The heated protest lasted several hours before police and Vietnamese community leaders were able to negotiate a peaceful resolution. Now, the crowd began to break up once they learned that the police had told Tran he couldn't return to his store today. Now, investigators say they feel in some ways that Tran actually wants to instigate a fight here among many people in Little Saigon.
He was on Vietnamese radio, and he basically throws down the gauntlet to the community. I mean, challenging them to come down and do something about him putting those signs up.
Now, what you're looking at is a group of protesters that are allowed to remain in front of Tran store. That is part of the agreement. Also, as part of the agreement, another group of protesters are allowed to remain on the other side of the building here. At the moment, things are peaceful, and they hope to stay that way. Now, there is no word if Tran is going to try to show up at his store tomorrow. If he does, the protesters say they, too, will be here as well. Live in Little Saigon, in Westminster, Leanne Suter, KCAL 9 News.
Okay, Leanne.
Leslie, and they said as soon as they can get this crowd moved back, that is the goal, to get Tran back into his shop. While he is in his shop, the police officers will stay here and monitor the situation, obviously, so that nothing gets out of control. And also another important point, Leslie, is that they have about 200 law enforcement personnel here right now. They've come from a variety of different areas around the county and around the Southland. Also, they told us that because today is President's Day, it's a holiday, this is a huge expense for them, because now a lot of officers who would have been off today are now getting paid overtime. We will, of course, keep you updated with our team coverage here in Westminster. Reporting from Westminster, this is Lisa Severin and Jennifer Bauman for OCN. Back to you, Leslie, in studio.
All right, thank you very much.
His fight to display communist symbols. OCN's Lisa Severin is standing by in Westminster with more. Lisa?
Brooke, the crowd has calmed down a lot and thinned out considerably since this morning here in Westminster. Hundreds of protesters left the strip mall here in Westminster shortly after getting word that the shop owner Tran would not show up today to rehang his photo of Ho Chi Minh and his communist flag. The smaller crowd that did stay was something police said they were comfortable maintaining. They also say they see both sides to this demonstration.
It would help a whole lot if he didn't try to be so antagonistic toward the community about the fact that he has a right to put this item up. So that, to me, then creates a quite hostile environment. And yeah, he's throwing down the gauntlet in front of them, and of course they're going to respond to that.
Earlier today, extra officers were called in and put on alert so Tran could come into his store. He was convinced, however, to stay away after police told him they couldn't guarantee his safety with the enormous crowd waiting outside the shop. And Brooke, we do have more on the developments that happened this morning from OCN's Jennifer Bauman.
Command those assembled at 9550 Bolsa to immediately disperse. If you do not do so, you will be arrested.
Westminster police issue a warning as hundreds of law enforcement officers surround an emotional crowd. The anti-communist demonstrators chant patriotic slogans as they wave American and South Vietnamese flags. Police wear riot gear as they face off with a potentially explosive crowd of nearly 500 protesters. Demonstrators want to make sure shop owner Truong Van Tran doesn't rehang a communist flag and a picture of Ho Chi Minh in Little Saigon.
He abuses First Amendment. He takes advantage of it, and he doesn't care that what happened in the past is the money that communists give him.
Many determined demonstrators refuse to leave when police and sheriff's deputies arrive.
If police want to arrest me, just go ahead and arrest, but I won't go. I won't move away because I don't want Trường Văn Trường come over and put the communist flag in there.
Officers do arrest 3 protesters before midday, and many others vow to go to jail.
We have to stand up for people that's still in Vietnam. Even that means we have to die. We're gonna die to show the world that we love our country and we're gonna stand up for it.
For some, standing up for democracy in Vietnam means a lockup in the United States. From Westminster, Jennifer Ballman, OCN.
And Brooke, OCN's team coverage will continue here in Westminster, and we will have more on this afternoon's events coming up for you in this 6 o'clock hour. Reporting from Westminster, I'm Lisa Sutton for OCN. Brooke, back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you, Lisa. We'll see. A video store owner in the city of Westminster was attacked earlier this afternoon.
Live from the Westminster protests to the Santa Ana courthouse and back to Little Saigon for the heated community reaction. From Westminster, Santa Ana, only OCN covers the county to bring you the complete story. OCN, Orange County's news channel.
We're here for a peaceful demonstration. We will not resort to violence, but we will continue to fight against the flag.
Several Vietnam vets even joined in the protest.
I lost a lot of friends that are on the wall because of Ho Chi Minh and that flag. I lost a lot of Vietnamese friends in Vietnam. I'm here to support the Vietnamese.
Police dressed in riot gear ordered the crowd to disperse, threatened to arrest every demonstrator. The heated protest lasted several hours before officers and Vietnamese community leaders were able to negotiate a peaceful resolution. It also helped that officers told Tran he couldn't return to his store today.
We were able to negotiate something for right now, and hopefully we can negotiate something for the long term.
He has a right to come back, but we have also, as the police agree, we also have the right to come back here with him, as long as we organize ourselves and act with discipline.
That's right. Much of this debate focused on the First Amendment's rights, those of the store owner Tran and those of the protesters. Now, police officers here on the scene say they don't believe Tran will return or at least try to reopen his store tonight. But the protesters say as long as he threatens to hang the picture and the flag, they will remain here at the scene and will continue to protest in front of his store. Live in Little Saigon in Westminster, Leanne Suter, KCAL 9 News.
Okay, Leanne, thank you. And we'll, of course, continue to watch.
Police. Good evening, I'm Harold Green.
I'm Laura Diaz, and we begin with breaking news.
Those controversial images weren't even up yet. Orange County Bureau Chief Sid Garcia joins us live with an update on this very emotional situation. Sid?
Harold, Little Saigon here in the city of Westminster, and I tell you what, things are a lot calmer now than they were just a few hours ago. There is the compromise that was worked out between police and the demonstrators today. This was all done to avoid a huge clash. With hundreds of demonstrators crowding the parking lot and starting their own sit-in, Westminster Police was bringing in reinforcements from around the county to break up the crowd. The clash between police and the demonstrators never happened. Community leaders, after seeing the show of force by police, asked for a peaceful resolution.
We were prepared to take whatever number of people to jail we had to if that came to that. We were prepared to take people to jail in wheelchairs. We had all those contingents set up. That wasn't what discouraged us. Again, they came to us asking, can they negotiate something and avoid this clash?
This is what both sides were able to negotiate. Demonstrators on the opposite side of Tran's video store. Behind me, there are some police officers here just to keep the peace. But right now, this is what they want, a peaceful demonstration and no confrontation. That's when the hundreds of demonstrators here found out that video shop owner Truong Van Tran wasn't coming today.
If he's a smart man, or he's a wise man, he shouldn't create this kind of scenery. I believe, unfortunately, we are dealing with a guy with, I believe he's insane. And he knew that, and his family knowing that, I believe he's just doing it for publicity.
After avoiding a confrontation with police, more than half of the demonstrators took their protest to the streets and marched in front of the shopping center. Again, it's very peaceful, about 100 when you compare to about 750 people that were here. Tran, I am told, will try to come back tomorrow, which is a Lunar New Year, to try and put up the Vietnamese Communist flag and the poster of Ho Chi Minh. Reporting live from Little Saigon in Westminster, Sid Garcia, ABC 7 Eyewitness News. Laura, back to you.
Sid, thank you.
People to fight for what is right, like our ancestors, our father have fight for our freedom. Now it's our turn to fight for the younger generation's freedom.
While the conflict does continue, extra officers remain on guard.
It's very costly. But the bottom line is that we're committed to do whatever it's going to take to keep the peace.
That means protection for both the protesters and shop owner TRUONG. Now, this video store, Hi-Tek Video, is located in a strip mall here in Westminster. And joining me as our OCN team coverage continues is Nicole Dahl, who's been covering, you've been covering the aspect of how this is affecting businesses around here. Is it good or bad?
Well, Lisa, it's been quite a day, not only for the demonstrators and for the police, as you said, but also for the shopkeepers. Now, many of them who we spoke with today say they feel an incredible amount of solidarity with the demonstrators, but it's been impossible to conduct business as usual. Now, business owners we spoke with say their businesses have suffered incredibly. Many of them didn't want to go on camera with us, but said they've had a lot of loss of business. We did find one man who says his video store has seen plenty of protesters, but few customers.
It's coming to the Christmas, coming to the holiday season, especially Lunar New Year. We expect more business than today. Today is very bad.
How much of a percentage do you think you've lost?
I say probably somewhere between 60 to 70% of the business we suffer, especially today. Definitely 70% at least.
Again, those shop owners that we spoke with, most of them said they feel completely behind what's going on here. They say they will do so. They will be continuing to support the protesters. As long as Mr. Tran doesn't come back and put that flag and that poster up, they say all the loss of business will be worth it. No word yet on when Mr. Tran may be coming back, but when he does, it will likely be quite a scene. Reporting from Westminster, I'm Nicole Dahl with Lisa Severin. Brooke, back to you in the studio.
Nicole, thank you. And
declare this to be an unlawful assembly.
Arrests are made, but demonstrators like Anderson Ying dig in, refusing to budge.
We're willing to get arrested, because I have the right to have arrest.
Timing of the demonstration, ironic. Vietnamese New Year fast approaching tomorrow. So is the anniversary of the bloody Tet Offensive, a critical turning point in the Vietnam War. Hence the hatred for what shopkeeper Truong Van Tran is trying to do. Rehang two inflammatory symbols of communism in his video store.
I lost a lot of friends over there because of that Ho Chi Minh.
Fortunately, the police able to mediate a truce. Tran, a no-show, after taunting his critics last night on Vietnamese radio.
Apparently, he's starting to understand that discretion is the better part of valor.
Right now, he cannot, hang his flag on his store, so we are really happy right now.
The nasty conflict probably won't be resolved until an eviction process is completed sometime in March. So look for a carbon copy of today tomorrow. In Little Saigon, Art Navarro, UPN News 13.
And the man at the center of this controversy is speaking out tonight, Natalie.
Come today, somebody killed me, and the police, maybe some people killed the police too. And I say, I don't scare.
This morning, Tran was ready to go back with a police escort to hang the communist flag and picture. But after a long wait, police canceled the trip.
Police say, wait in here. And wait. After that, police say, I cannot come to my store. If I come, the police will take me arrest. Put him in jail.
Trang says police should not arrest him, but the protesters who've taken away his livelihood.
I heard on the radio, police say the protest people don't come to on the front of my store. If they come, put them in the, take the arrest them, but the police don't do it.
Well, as we saw earlier, police did wind up making 3 arrests. As for Tran, he says his fight is not over, although he's not exactly sure when he'll be able to reopen the store. Alan?
Okay, thank you, Natalie. A near disaster off the coast of northern San Diego County. You're looking at a frantic rescue effort earlier tonight.
Year of the CAD, which begins tomorrow. Now, the crowd here is estimated at about 300, but earlier today it was double that, plus 200 police officers.
To immediately disperse. If you do not do so, you will be arrested.
The scene was reminiscent of the 60s, row after row of police in full riot gear. Civil disobedience leading to arrest. Police restrained, then led away 3 demonstrators from this Westminster strip mall. Their chant, "Down with Communism." The
The demonstrations have continued almost round the clock for nearly a month. It all started when Hi-Tek video owner Trong Van Tran dared the Little Saigon activist community to do something about his display of Ho Chi Minh and the communist flag. Last week, a judge upheld Tran's freedom of expression. Tran vowed to rehang his display, but the sheer number and passion of the protesters Monday made it nearly impossible, and police agreed.
We do not have a court order, but we advised him that it would incite the crowd to the point of where it would be a riot, that the safety of the people here demanded that he not come to the location. He agreed to that.
Tran said he had no choice.
If I come to there, the police put me in the jail.
Police feared a repeat of last week's attack on Tran, or worse, as the crowd grew into the hundreds. Demonstrators played patriotic music to rally the people and displayed pictures of the atrocities of the war. A handful of Vietnam vets who saw the work of Ho Chi Minh joined in.
I have a lot of friends, both Vietnamese and Americans, that didn't come home.
To best explain their heated emotions, Ko Nyo puts it this way.
What do you think if you put the picture of Hitler and the Jewish community?
Well, how long could these protests last, you might ask? Well, Truong Tran was supposed to be evicted from his store from the shopping mall next week, but he plans to appeal, which automatically gives him an additional 45 days of tenancy. Reporting live in Westminster, I'm Susan Hirosuna. Christine?
All right, thanks for the latest. Police think a home invasion robbery that left a man wounded today was really a drug spot.